One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Great to see everyone in the chat, man. We have a lot to discuss this morning. So we're just going to go ahead and start it off with this. Iran strikes expand as well as Kuwait is hit and Ebola alert. So that's what we actually have titled. But there is actually more than just that going on in the world, if you guys can believe it. So first, let's go ahead and give you guys a chronological breakdown of what we're going to be reporting on this morning, and then we'll get into the details. All right, so we're going to first start off with President Trump reacts to Kennedy Center setback. There's been, a lot of that discussion from yesterday regarding the Kennedy Center. We're going to get into that here in a minute. That'll be our first story for the morning, and then we have details that emerged yesterday. New details regarding that Virginia bus crash that happened, unfortunately. It says Virginia bus crash kills 5, including family of 4 traveling to a wedding. Oh, I hate hearing shit like that. It's the worst, especially when innocents die of, children, obviously, women. Anyways, then we have just yesterday as well, curfew enacted near New Jersey ICE facility after protests. The protests are getting a little wild over there. We have that footage for you guys as well. And then over there in Florida, DeSantis pushes property tax relief proposal in Florida, which would be awesome, by the way, but I actually don't know the key details yet. So let me go ahead and read it. We are learning more about this week about Governor Ron DeSantis' proposal for a sweeping property tax cut. Local governments are reportedly beginning to discuss how much revenue they would lose as a result. A special session will begin Monday where Florida lawmakers will consider raising the homestead exemption from $50,000 to $250,000 over the course of 2 years. Interesting. And then we've got, this was breaking 5 hours ago, obviously, like you guys saw in the title, as well as the thumbnail. This was breaking 5 hours ago. U.S. military strikes Iranian air defenses and drone sites. But then we have some following things that happen after that. So we have details on the Iran shoots down U.S. drone, as well as Kuwait reportedly targeted. It says chief foreign correspondent, which is Trey Yanks over there in Israel, gets and talks about this, reports on escalating Middle East tensions as U.S. Central Command reports strikes on multiple Iranian targets, including radar and drone strikes over the weekend, following a $4 million U.S. drone shutdown. I'm not really sure what that means, a $4 million U.S. drone shutdown. I'm not really sure exactly what that means. We're going to find out together, though. And then as of just 2 hours ago, U.S. bombs Iran military sites as Kuwait is hit by drone and missile strikes. And then this morning, we have as well, just coming out 2 hours ago, Trump responds after U.S.-Iran trade strikes. We do have, his statements there. And then as of just an hour ago, hundreds protest outside Kenya Ebola quarantine center for U.S. citizens because it has been shut down. Remember, we were talking about they were going to create some Ebola like center that they could house U.S. people going into the United States from that region kind of thing. Well, Kenya and their government said that's not happening. We're not doing that shit. So that's kind of out the window. And I guess there's protests regarding it over there in Kenya. So we're going to get into it and figure out what's actually happening here. And then we have on the brink, it says just an hour ago, Iranian hardliners crash, key Gulf ally under attack. And I'm thinking they're talking about Kuwait in this. Yes, I think that's what they're talking about. And then we have Rubio seeks to steady U.S.-India ties during overseas trips. So that's what we're looking at this morning. By the way, there's a lot going on just aside from that. Let me go ahead and show you guys this image right now. This just happened this morning. This is a cargo vessel that was off the coast of Iraq, actually, and has been reportedly hit. And there is a video, and I actually did watch the video, but it's just this, essentially, them just, kind of looking at the ship and stuff, but it is a big blast. Iranian governmental officials are saying that happened from inside of the ship and said that there was an implosion or whatever, an explosion inside the ship. I'm going to tell you right now, that doesn't happen like that. So they definitely got hit. You can just tell by looking at it. Also, there's new developments going on right now as we speak as well. There is an evacuation order that Israel sent over to basically Lebanon, Beirut, Lebanon, and said, get your guys' people out of here because they're about to do an operation of some sort. Now, because of all this that's been going on, the trading and strikes and all that, well, Iran is claiming that we have breached a ceasefire, the United States / Israel, because Israel's aggression towards Lebanon. So right now, believe it or not, regarding Beirut and all of that, Iran is saying that we are no longer doing any diplomatic conversations here. So that ended this morning. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to get into diplomatic talks again. I'm sure we will. But right now, it's suspended from any diplomatic talks with the United States / Israel. So that's just developing right now. So we're going to be keeping an eye on all of this. But real quick, let's go into our call to actions and we'll get into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it. And it's free to do so. You know what else is free is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, man. Speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $3.99 a month. We're making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. It's what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, all that great shit. It's a great way to get hold of me one-on-one. And we have a Discord server for all of you legends where we continue the conversation. In the video description down below, make sure you get the invite link. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen at any time. You can donate to those, and I get 100% of the proceeds. And of course, we'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. All right, so if I'm got my email up, I'm always be scanning. Good morning to all you legends, man. Always appreciate all your guys' support, your engagement, hanging out with us. Also, big shout out to Sick Bastard with the raid this morning. Thank you very much, kind sir. We always appreciate the love and appreciation there. We got Evil Rick in the building as well as Virginia Chaos. Good morning to you guys. We got PJ as well. Oh, look, man, we're scrolling our way down. We got Rabbit of Chaos as well. Good morning. We got AU as well. Good morning to you. We got Logical Spark. Yes, sir. Good morning as well. We got Brother TVT as well as KP. It's been a minute. Great to see you, by the way. Mr. Cameron, shout out to you. We got Rhodey as well. Good morning. Good morning. We got Prez as well as Steve Posey or Steve Easy. I'm sorry, my bad. I was reading too fast. Then Dylan Patterson. Good morning. Let's see. We got Wildcard as well. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Really? The bus driver can't even speak English? Are you serious? Are you serious? We got Carrie as well. Good morning to you. We got Sick Bastard, the man, the myth, the legend that rated us this morning. Always appreciate it. We got Sterling Wheel. Yes, sir. Good morning to you as well as Brother So Loud from the Boondocks in North Carolina. We got TNT as well as Sterling gifting out a membership. Yo, let's get it. Thank you for not only helping me, but helping someone else in the IWF. I very much appreciate it. All right, we got Tiffany as well. Good morning to you. We got Paddleverse. What's up? Just another Canadian. Good morning to you. Let's see. We are scrolling our way down as fast as humanly possible. We got Mr. Abe Dinkus. Good morning, kind sir. Always appreciate you as well. All right, we're going to get right into the madness. And always, thank you, Naomi, for being here and hanging out with us. We got Steve Posey as well. All right, let's get right into the madness this morning. We got a lot to discuss, as you guys are.
All right, you're watching live now. I'm Austin Westfall. Let's track all the latest developments with the White House. Let's bring in the AP's Will Weiser. He covers the White House for the Associated Press. Will, as always.
By the way, we're not going to even get much of this story. We're going to hear the top, basically the top monologue, and then we're going to move on. This is in regards to the Kennedy Center setback, and we're going to find out a little bit more about it right now.
It's good to see you. We have a live look at the White House, the time in the nation's capital, just past 5:15 as we have this conversation. I want to start with the Middle East. A week ago, you and I were sitting right here reporting on the fact that the president, last Saturday, he said that a deal was close, and you and I were having a conversation a week ago today about how, yeah, there's a lot of voices saying that a deal is close, but we need to be, realistic, and there's always a chance that we don't have a ceasefire agreed to in the immediate term. Here we are now.
Yep, and we don't even, here's the thing. There's a lot been changed since this report. So basically take anything in the regards of Iran with a grain of salt. And I thought they were going to go and talk about the Kennedy Center. That's really what I thought they were going to be talking about here. But let's go ahead and see what U.S. Central Command actually says here. There's somewhat of a new update that I haven't seen. Let's see what this is.
We were looking at the social feeds of U.S. Southcom. I want to ask you about a different part of the world, Cuba. The AP is saying that the top U.S. commander in Latin.
Oh, did I say Central Command? I meant Southern Command. I just noticed right now that I might have read that too fast. It's Southern Command. What they deal with down there in Latin America, all that stuff.
You see him on your screen there. General Francis L. Donovan. He met with the Army Corps General and a number of other military officials. They met at the perimeter of the naval station, Guantanamo Bay. They are calling this a brief exchange on...
What's up, Tootie? Good morning to you as well. Good
operational security matters, Will. As far as what you're tracking on your end, what variables are going to decide which direction this Cuba situation is heading in the immediate term?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I think obviously a lot of this has to do with Iran. This is a...
No, it doesn't necessarily have to all do with Iran there. That's a L take in my opinion. Let's go ahead and move on a little bit here, see if we get anything. Oh, I think this might be it regarding the Kennedy Center.
Kennedy Space Center as of late, President Trump's name. This was the news that came out yesterday.
Yeah, so what they said is that I think it was the Supreme Court or something like that said that Donald Trump has to take off his name from the Kennedy Center because he is a living, sitting president right now. And so they're forcing him to basically take his name off the building.
Today, President Trump's name must be removed from the Kennedy Center, according to an order that was signed yesterday by a D.C. district judge. Trump has 2 weeks to remove his name
from a D.C. district judge. Interesting.
From the building and signage around the facility, according to the order. Trump, as I said, not happy about it, posting some pretty long posts on social media.
Of course he ain't.
What has he been saying? What's the president's main gripe? I read a big, long Truth social media post last night. We read it. It was like 4 pages long when it was all spread out on our screen on air. But
what's up, Frank? Good morning to you as well.
He has continued to go today, correct?
He has. And what struck me is in addition to the link that you've already mentioned a couple of times, these are really long, posts, but they're also angry. I think, he's
we all know that. Anyways, he Trump's ego's a little bit bruised on that one, so it is what it is. All right, we're going to move on though, into the Virginia bus crash, that we covered, I think on Friday is when we last discussed it, when it happened. But we do have new details that came out yesterday. It says Virginia bus crash kills 5, including family of 4 traveling to a wedding. God, that is just terrible fucking news. Oh, man. All right, here we go.
We do have a reporter from our affiliate Fox 5 in D.C. on the ground. We're going to bring her in just a moment. But take a look at this social media post. 5 patients remain hospitalized after a deadly bus crash on Interstate 95 in Stafford County killed 5 people and injured dozens more. That's according to the latest update from Mary Washington Healthcare. And Regina Ureta with Fox 5 D.C., you were there for the NTSB hearing. What can you tell us about what was said?
That's hilarious, Tootie. Yeah, absolutely. We can absolutely have those kind of conversations, but I'm not going to compare my injuries with anybody else, because here's the thing. I've said this before on my show. You can't compare one injury to another because you don't know how much it hurt that person, whether it be emotionally, psychologically, physically, all of it, man. There's people that basically their life is over as soon as they stub their toe, so it just depends on your perception, right?
Yeah, well, Alexandra, just like you heard a moment ago, NTSB investigators are now working to determine what led up to this deadly bus crash on Interstate 5 that happened on Friday night. It left 5 people dead and dozens injured. There was a briefing that happened close to the crash site, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I got to tell you, it's been an incredibly difficult time for family members of the victims. We've been speaking to some of the relatives. Unfortunately, they did not want to speak on camera, but we did.
I don't blame them.
Did talk to them over the phone. One of them sharing this family photo of the victims who died in one of the.
Oh, well, they muted her when
the crash involving that car. I want to pull up that family picture of the Dontsevs. Family members sharing this picture and confirming their identities. On the right, Dimitri.
That is true. I still stub my other toe. Theoretically, I just can't feel it. Right?
And Ekaterina on the far left, along with her 2 children, Emily and Mark. They were among the people killed overnight. The family was on their way to a family wedding in South Carolina.
There's
on the phone,
video.
Dimitri's brother told me the family was very active. And
it looks like there was a car that it ran through right there. If you guys
family
look,
wedding in South.
It looks like there's some sort of vehicle over here where that light is somewhere back here. That's what it looks like.
Carolina. On the phone, Dimitri's brother told me the family was very active in their local church. Their daughter played the piano. They were.
Oh, wow. Were there people crawling out from underneath that fucking thing just now?
In the church choir.
Or are they just getting out of the bus? That's what's happening.
Well, Dimitri was a nurse. They migrated from Moldova and had lived in Greenfield, Massachusetts for more than 10 years. And as mentioned, it's been an incredibly
Good morning, Stephanie. Great to see you, by the way.
Difficult time for the family of the Dontsevs. The crash happened overnight on Interstate 95 near mile marker 146. According to Virginia State Police, a charter bus carrying dozens of passengers from New York to North Carolina failed to stop, crashing into a car ahead of it, killing the 5th victim, who police identified as 25-year-old Priscilla Mafalda from Massachusetts. The impact triggered a chain reaction crash involving at least 6 vehicles. One of those cars carried.
Now, why didn't we ever figure out? We haven't figured out why this actually happened. Now, I'm obviously assuming that maybe the bus driver is no longer here with us, is what I'm basically assuming. But it's odd because usually they're like, oh, this happened. He, had alcohol in his system. He had drugs. He had this, that, whatever. He fell asleep. There's some sort of analysis there, but we really haven't heard anything causing this yet.
The Dontsevs family. The bus driver was injured but survived. Police identified him as 48.
Exactly, Boomer. And maybe that was it. Maybe the dude fell asleep driving, or woman, whatever. But Boomer, good morning to you.
Jing Dong of New York, who obtained his commercial driver's license in 2024. Transportation Secretary.
Okay, so they were talking about the guy that was the bus driver. He actually did have the credentials. It sounded like. Let me go and back it up a little bit there.
A chain reaction crash involving at least 6 vehicles. One of those cars carrying the Dontsevs family. The bus driver was injured but survived. Police identified him as 48-year-old Jing Dong of New York, who obtained his commercial.
Jing Dong. Jing Dong. Why would you let Jing Dong be driving around a bus?
Bruh.
I wouldn't trust him to drive around an SUV. What are you talking about? Shit.
But survived. Police identified him as 48-year-old Jing Dong of New York, who obtained his commercial driver's license in 2024. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is now questioning the driver's qualifications, saying Dong does not speak English and should not have been operating a commercial bus. But NTSB is looking into it. So take a listen.
One of the things that we do, as a matter of course, is we do a 72-hour look back.
We can't hear them.
Drivers.
Mute your other side, Dingleberries.
Activities were during the days leading up to the crash. So we're looking for.
Yeah, hardwire. That's right. Ding dong. That's what it is. Make sure. Speaking of ding dong, make sure you guys ding dong that freaking like button. Double tap it. Always appreciate you guys.
Sleep issues, distraction issues, potential drug and alcohol issues. I'm not saying that there's any of that involved here, but those are the sorts of things we want to look at.
Right. You want to, of course, look at that. That goes without saying.
So today, NTSB outlined its investigative plan. A 6-member team will examine weather conditions, crash data, the design of the construction zone, and the traffic backup that formed before the collision. As for the driver, they'll determine whether alcohol or drugs played a role while also reviewing his driving history.
Oh, KP, I am slacking, bro. I am slacking. You know what? Let's go ahead and just handle this now. Let's just get it over and get it out of the way. Here we go. Little counterclockwise tobacco. All right. We're good. We're good to rock and roll. Let's do it.
And activities in the days leading up to the crash. Here's more from Tom Chapman, the NTSB board member.
Our mission is to understand not just what happened, but why it happened, and to recommend changes.
You be safe out there, TVT.
To prevent it from happening again. We will not be determining the probable cause of the crash while we were on scene, nor will we speculate about the cause. These are the first steps in
what happened, Hardwire?
a lengthy investigative process. Our mission is to understand not just what happened, but why it happened.
And Alexandra, the driver has been charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. Other charges are pending. I should also mention that NTSB investigators said that the site on scene, they will be reviewing it for the next couple of days, at least a week. But a preliminary report won't come out until the next 30 days. So we'll try to keep our viewers updated and, of course, try to get more details about this. But just a really sad day here in Stafford County.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And so we're going to be following anything that we report on here. You guys know the deal. I do my absolute damnness to go ahead and follow anything that we report. We do our damnness to follow the follow-ups. All right. Let's go ahead and embrace our fuck-ups real quick, because that is a major fuck-up. And I don't even know if that dude, Ding Dong or whatever his name is, I'm not even sure if he's on this planet anymore, but the message shall get across.
Don't beat yourself up.
And of course it would fuck
Don't
up.
beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck-ups when you have tomorrow's fuck-ups to look forward to? You are a fuck-up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
You must embrace thy process. All right, real quick, we got No Grow in the building as well up there in Canada. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat. All right, we're going to get into a curfew enacted near New Jersey ICE facility after these protests. There was these hunger strikes that they were doing over there, doing demonstrations that went over longer than a week, actually. Today would be, theoretically, if they're protesting today, it would be like day 9 or 10 or something like that. Anyways, but it does show that there's been a curfew enacted near the New Jersey ICE facility. So it looks like they're doing their legal route of being able to kind of control situations, because if anyone's out during that time, they're just that they have the right to essentially arrest you at that point, so that's what they're doing.
We are continuing to follow updates coming out of Newark, New Jersey. This is a social media post courtesy of our team at Fox 5 in New York. It says this: 6 protesters were arrested outside Delaney Hall overnight, officials said, including 5 outside agitators from out of the state. Now, Fox 5 saying this, that officials are saying that officers from the Newark Police Department and the New Jersey State Police were forced to disperse crowds following aggressive actions by a group of protesters. Joining us now with more on this story is Lisa Evers with our team at Fox 5 in New York. Lisa, what do we know about why these protesters were out there in the first place?
That's true, Lord.
Well, it all started on the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, so about a week and a half ago. There were some family members who went to visit detainees inside this hall. And let's let everybody know, it's called Delaney Hall, which sounds kind of like a residential dorm, but it's a federally run detention center for ICE detainees, but it's operated privately. It's in a very industrial section of Newark, New Jersey. It's very close to just a lot of very hardcore industrial things with gas, with refuse, with waste, with heavy pipes, like really huge machinery and equipment goes through the street that it runs in front of the detention center. So it's not a residential community, which is probably a very, very good thing. And then over the weekend, the reports escalated about inmates, detainees, I should say, being abused, being mistreated, that they were on a hunger strike because the conditions were so bad, that they were not being given medical attention when they needed medical attention, all of which were refuted categorically by DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen and his...
Right. And I think the main thing that they were arguing was the whole hunger thing. Well, the food aspect, that it was subpar or whatever. Well, listen here. What from the reports that I've found out is that there was different people from different regions of the world that, you know, wanted their ethnic food. And we don't have that. They're like, no, you're going to eat this. And they refused to eat and then ended up having this whole quote unquote hunger strike. It's like, well, sorry that you're not getting your exact plate that you would get in fucking Ethiopia or fucking Mexico or whatever. I mean, you're gonna just eat whatever we've got. You know, we're not giving you shit with worms in it. Now they did make that accusation that there was worms in it. It's like, no, there wasn't. Show me any pictures of that shit. Show me any of that, because there isn't any from that facility. I can guarantee that. I mean, until we see it, you know, let me just say, it doesn't mean anything until you actually show the evidence.
Spokespersons, and it just shows you how quickly these things can escalate. So one group of protesters was there, and then you can see this is video from last night, and the tactics again are tactics that we've seen at other protests where they try to push the barricades.
Always an idiot with a helmet.
You know, push the barricades and test the police officers. Now, what was different about this time, and what was different about what's happening here in New Jersey right now, is Governor Mikey Sherrill went there on Memorial Day, and she was condemned by Markwayne Mullin, the DHS secretary, that this was basically a publicity stunt. She was not allowed inside. I was there last Tuesday. The senator from New Jersey, Andy Kim, and Congressman Rob Menendez, they're federal, they're federal office holders. They were allowed in to see for themselves in a limited capacity in a private room here. So basically, all of this started over information that came from a couple of families to advocates, pro-immigrant advocates, and then it spread like, pardon the expression, like wildfire over the Memorial Day weekend, and then it started to escalate during the week as they camped out, they stood out in front, more people started showing up, and then by the end of this past week on Friday, things got very, very tense. They were staying around the clock late at night, and then that is when Governor Mikey Sherrill said, "Listen, we're going to allow people to protest." There were also anti-protest to the protesters who were there to support ICE. She said, we're going to set up
boom, boom. They're shooting fireworks at
night. They were setting off tear gas and flash grenades to try to disperse the crowd. But Governor Sherrill talked on Saturday with DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin. He said that he appreciated being able to work with a lot of with local law enforcement. So Sherrill's proposal, which is what they adopted, was to bring in the New Jersey State Troopers. They have specially trained units. They have units on horseback. And they came in force to try to set up these barricades.
People, man. I mean, just what a bunch of retards.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Stupid. Because up until this point, when we were there last Tuesday, you could literally walk right up the driveway. It's very close. The facility is very close to the street. So there wasn't like, there's a fence, of course, around the actual building, but you could walk up pretty close to the area. So the state troopers set up these barricades. And then last night, just after midnight, Newark residents got an emergency alert from Newark Mayor Ras Baraka. He said that Newark police officers would be supporting the state troopers there to try to maintain order, and that they would be shutting down the actual avenue that this whole thing was taking place on. And not only that, but they would be enforcing
I really hate this helmet/mask guy, the gas mask and the helmet guy. It's always a skinny, like, scrawny Antifa fuck, you know what I mean?
9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew every single night in that area.
You tell me that's not violent behavior, you know what I mean? And he's not actually like sitting there like hitting anybody, but doing this kind of display is not like, oh yeah, he's peaceful
in and around that detention center. So, it's one of these situations. There were 6 people arrested. Only one of them was from the state of New Jersey. Governor Sherrill said, we will not allow people from out of state.
I just see a lot of emotional people, just a lot of emotional damage.
Emotional damage. To come in. And Carell, we've talked about this with other major protests, like when they were going on at Columbia University, where they arrested over 200 protesters who would not leave the campus premises. The vast majority of them, like 3/4 of them, were from out of state. They weren't even students. So it's this theme of these professional organizers, professional protesters showing up to take advantage of the situation. And of course, we reached out to DHS. We're like, we want to know what's going on. They said there was absolutely no hunger strike going on. I asked Congressman Rob Menendez. He gave a little press briefing on Tuesday when he came out and visiting with one of the families. He said, we have a different definition of what is a hunger strike compared to what the federal government has. So.
Well, yeah, okay. Okay, sounds good. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We still got a lot to get through this morning, a lot, and we're theoretically halfway right now through the show. We got to get through this. DeSantis pushes property tax relief proposal in Florida. So I guess lawmakers over there in Florida are coming up with something to do with not only property taxes, but, regarding the homestead, going from 50,000 to 250,000 or something like that.
We'll see. Here on Live Now from Fox. Let's stick on the East Coast as we're hearing more of what's going on in Florida, as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has unveiled finally his plan for property tax reform, calling for an increase in the state's homestead exemption that would virtually wipe out taxes for millions of residents. And the plan, which DeSantis shared in a one-page summary.
Oh, shit. You know what we haven't done? We haven't done the money part yet. Let's just go ahead and get that over with really quick.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now that's actual factuals, ladies and gentlemen. That's an actual fact. Easy Frank says, where's Lucy Ball? She was hanging out with me right before I hit go live. And then as I hit go live, she went running. So she probably went underneath the bed to sleep it off while dad does his loud shit, Anyways, we got Miss Lotus as well. Good morning to you. Great to see you. We're talking about Florida this morning.
Would increase the state's homestead exemption from $50,000 to $250,000, a move that would virtually eliminate property taxes for about 60% of Florida residents who now qualify for the exemption. I do want to put this up here on Live Now from Fox from our Politico partners there. Team Kimberly Leonard saying one of his final acts, DeSantis calls for a vote on sweeping Florida property tax cuts. Of course, a special session set to begin this week. And Florida governor was on Fox News earlier today being asked about this property tax reforms, what it means, and more. Let's listen into this quickly.
Lucy is hungover.
Relief. And so it's my view that if you are a Florida resident and you have a homestead, we want that to be tax-free. And so that's our vision. That represents about 30% of the overall property tax revenue because
I think this happened right here. This part happened yesterday.
Still tax investment property, commercial property. And so this ballot measure will do an opening salvo of raising it, the exemption to $250, adjusted for inflation so they can't play games. That will be 60% of Florida homesteaders tax-free. Then as they raise it, the legislature will be able to raise that and have a process to do that. Once you get to 500,000 limit, that's 92% of homeowners. And then on it goes from there. But if we don't give homeowners relief, Maria, by 2032, they're going to be taking in $83 billion. So that would mean $32 billion in 2019. 13 years later, it goes to $83 billion.
Damn.
That is not sustainable. And
yeah, that's definitely not sustainable for just working people.
So this is really a historic opportunity to have more money in people's pockets and to actually have their home.
Well, this is a W for DeSantis in Florida, actually. I really hope that Floridians get the tax relief, just like I would hope for Alabamians to get that tax relief, just like I would hope that for the rest of the country, right? Anyways, that is a W.
Be their private property that the government just can't use as a piggy bank.
All right, Florida Governor DeSantis there earlier today. We're going to be joined right now by...
You don't really need to have an analysis, an analyst give us an analysis on this shit. We understand what's happening here. It's jumping from 50,000 to 250,000. That will be covered under the homestead. Let's see what DeSantis says, if anything, here.
Yes, here on Live Now.
Let's see.
Other things, and then probably the number one thing I hear about is the ballot proposal for November about the property taxes. And it's something that a lot of people have been very excited about. Not everyone necessarily has always understood that it goes on the November ballot. It's not just something we can just do in Tallahassee legislatively because of the way Florida's constitution is. But I know people have really been chomping at the bit. But I also understood there were a lot of things that needed to get done, particularly the budget. The legislature.
What's up, Morris? Good morning.
Has done that budget, and I thank them for getting that done. And so that's sitting on the desk. They'll pass it the end of the week, and I'll obviously have to act on it. But I think we can say that the total amount of that budget, both in terms of the top line and then what.
Yes, between the two live streams, we've got about 100 people. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way, as well as double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it. You guys don't have to like all the craziness that's going around the world. Obviously what we've been talking about leading up until now. But you guys can like it for me and what we do here on Insane Wheels. So thank you for that.
They kind of put in the back of the bill is roughly in line with what we've spent this year. I think it's about $300 million more. I think it's probably a safe assumption that when I'm done with my veto pen, that it'll be less than current year budget. I think that's probably a safe assumption, but just understand what that means. Next fiscal year, we will be spending less as a state than current fiscal year. Current fiscal year, we're spending less than the year before. And the year before, we spent less than the year before that. How many other places in this country or in the world, for that matter, could actually say that they've reduced spending 4 years in a row? And that's what we're going to be able to say for Florida.
All right, that's good enough for us here. We're going to move on because we got so many things to get through this morning. We got a lot of activity going around the world. Shape-shifting of the world is happening as we speak. So we got to get into it. So this is breaking as of 6 hours ago. U.S. military strikes Iranian air defenses as well as drone sites. Now, this is just the beginning of what happened this morning, okay? So everything that we're going to be going forward is reported as of this morning. A lot of breaking news happening right now. So let's go ahead and bring this up, and we will discuss it. Here we go.
To Alex Hogan, who is live in D.C. with the latest on Iran. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. So U.S. Central Command made this announcement just hours ago saying American forces carried out strikes this weekend, bombing Iranian radar and drone control sites in Gorak, Iran, and Qasem Island. And according to Central Command, the measured and deliberate strikes occurred on Saturday and Sunday in response to aggressive Iranian actions that included the shootdown of a U.S. MQ-1 drone that was operating over international waters. U.S. fighter aircraft swiftly responded by eliminating Iranian air defenses, a ground control station, and 2 one-way attack drones that pose clear threats to ships transiting regional waters. And now Kuwait says it's intercepting incoming drone and missile fire. That comes as Iran confirmed it carried out retaliatory strikes today. And Iran's Revolutionary Guard today says the source of that is what it calls U.S. attacks on a telecommunication tower. President Trump met with advisors in the Situation Room at the White House here in Washington on Friday, but had yet to make an announcement over the weekend over.
And we reported on all of that when he was in the Situation Room and all of that. Yes, we were reporting on that, but we haven't heard a response up until basically this morning, what we were seeing right now.
How to move forward. Overnight, he posted on Truth Social, writing in part, Iran really wants to make a deal, and it will be a good one for the USA and those that are with us. Both the U.S. and Iran have exchanged strikes since the ceasefire started in early April. It's not clear yet how these strikes will impact the ongoing negotiations to end the war that has now stretched 3 months.
Well, we already know the deal this morning. I told you guys at the top of the hour here this morning. There's been a change of how this is all kind of playing out as of, just as of right now. I mean, anything can flip and change immediately. I mean, it happens on a blink of an eye. But there is no more diplomatic talks between Iran and the United States / Israel, because they're saying that Israel is going and attacking Beirut, which there is right now an evacuation order for people that live over there in Beirut, Lebanon. So Iran saying there's no more diplomatic talks between United States, and this is just coming out right before we basically started the show this morning. So I've been following it heavy this morning and as well as yesterday.
Tell it, Ashley.
Okay, Alex, thank you. CENTCOM confirming the U.S. military has struck more Iranian targets after the downing of an American drone as the U.S.-Iran ceasefire is once again tested. President Trump commenting on negotiations with Tehran with Fox's Lar Trump.
We're making a great deal. We're going to make it a great deal. Other, we'll just go back and finish it off militarily.
This was on Saturday right here.
What we want slowly, very tough negotiators. It takes a long time. I'm in no hurry. I'd like to say I'm in a hurry because, gasoline prices are going to come tumbling down. But if you're going to be in a hurry, you're not going to make a good deal. And slowly but surely, we're getting, I think, what we want. And if we don't get what we want, we're going to end it a different way.
Joining us today to discuss this is the former Deputy National Security.
No real need to continue talking about it because we actually have many updates since this whole thing. But I wanted to show you guys at least what was happening right there in regards to U.S. military strikes, Iranian air defenses, as well as drone sites. It looks like we don't actually get to see those sites. We're not seeing any of the images from any of that. So we're going to move on. Okay, so this is, of course, we're continuing on here. Iran shoots down U.S. drone as well as Kuwait reportedly targeted. Let's go ahead and get into that here in a second. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you guys. 3, 2, 1, bam.
9 minutes after the top of the hour, CENTCOM confirming the U.S. carried out strikes on more Iranian targets over the weekend.
But the president says that Iran still wants to make a deal as the fragile ceasefire remains on edge.
So Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey. Yeah, hey guys, good morning. CENTCOM says U.S. forces conducted strikes against multiple Iranian targets over the weekend. The strikes hit Iranian radar systems and command and control centers for drones in Gulrak, Iran, along the coast and on Qasem Island. CENTCOM described the action as defensive in nature to prevent Iran from attacking international shipping lanes and after Iran shot down a $4 million U.S. drone. The Iranians responded by targeting Kuwait with drones and missiles early this morning.
It was a $4 million drone. What are we doing launching off $4 million drones and getting them exploded midair for? I mean, what are we doing? $4 million. These guys are creating like really lethal drones for like 20 grand. $4 million for one drone.
Overnight, President Trump posted a Truth Social saying, in part, Iran really wants to make a deal, and it will be a good one for the USA and those that are.
Maybe it wasn't a one-way drone. Maybe it's some sort of other drone that garnishes intelligence or something like that. I don't know.
Thus, Iran's parliament speaker and top negotiator Mohammad Khalibaf said this on Sunday about the ongoing talks.
There's no way, though. They take it as a threat.
Are the tangible achievements we must obtain in order to undertake our own commitments in return. And until we are certain that we have secured the rights of the Iranian nation, we will not approve any agreement.
We're also tracking developments in the conflict between Israel and Iran's largest proxy, Hezbollah. Over the weekend, Hezbollah launched...
Now, this is a big deal right here. These strikes right here are basically what Iran is saying, well, we're not going to be doing any more diplomatic discussions here because you guys are fucking up our proxy, which is Hezbollah, obviously, over there in Lebanon.
50 rockets into northern Israel as Israeli ground forces pushed deeper into southern Lebanon. This morning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the IDF to strike the Lebanese capital of Beirut, specifically the Dahya neighborhood, a Hezbollah stronghold.
What up, Extra Surprise? Good morning.
I instructed the IDF to expand the maneuver in Lebanon. Our forces have crossed the Litani. They have seized dominant terrain. They captured the Beaufort Ridge, and now my instruction is to deepen and expand our hold in places that were under Hezbollah control.
Iranian officials have often tried to tie a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah to the broader agreement between Iran and the United States. And even as we speak, guys, sirens have sounded across northern Israel. Hezbollah is continuing dozens of attacks on an hourly basis against this country. Guys?
Trey, just curious, Iran's president submitted that letter of resignation to the office of the supreme leader. How will that affect these negotiations, and why does he want to step down?
That's true. So they're saying it's an internal thing, by the way. So I don't know if you guys did see that or not, and I'm surprised that I didn't say anything about that. But over the weekend, the Iranian president has let everybody know that he is stepping down. He is basically forfeiting his position.
So we've not been able to confirm those reports that Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has offered his resignation, and even over...
But they are saying it has something to do with internal influence and stuff like that. That's what the reports, at least, were saying.
Over the weekend, Pezeshkian said the reports were not true. They initially came from Iran International, which is a media organization that is affiliated with Iranian opposition. But broadly, when we talk about the fracture that exists inside of Iran, it is something to discuss in the framework of these ongoing conversations.
That's interesting what he just said there. He goes, well, that aspect may actually be fake news, but that doesn't, and good thing I didn't actually fully report on that as a breaking segment over the weekend, because usually I'll post things like that. But if it is fake news, but he goes, listen, that may be fake news, but that doesn't stop that there is a problem. That doesn't necessarily negate any of those things.
With the United States, because there are more moderate voices in Tehran, such as the parliament speaker, Mohammad Khalibaf, Masoud Pezeshkian, the country's president, and others who are reportedly clashing internally with Iran's IRGC, these hardline Islamic officials that want to return to war with the United States. And this is part of the challenge right now for the Trump administration as they try to get a deal together with Iran. There is a fracture right now inside of Iran as it relates to the situation on the ground and what officials in Tehran...
Virginia Chaos. Yeah, so the president and the Ayatollah is two different people. Kind of like in Israel, there's a president and then there's a prime minister. So it's kind of like those kind of ideologies. One is meant for outside forces. One is meant for inside. And then we got Warlener in the building. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat.
On what to happen in terms of those negotiations with the administration.
So President Trump over the weekend, Trey, said, I'm going to change a little bit of my demands. I want to know specifically, the way I understand it, you tell me if I'm wrong. I want to know specifically how we're going to get the uranium out, the timeline in which we're going to do it, and when that's going to start. Because the president's worried about the optics too. They want funds. What Iran wants is funds unfrozen. The last thing we need is pallets of cash being dropped off in Tehran again. So the president doesn't want to do that. So what could you tell me about the ongoing process?
Same with me,
indicate
Steve.
President Trump late last week in the Situation Room at the White House was very clear and actually pushed back on some of the framework that exists right now in terms of the negotiation with Iran. He wants more concessions from the Iranian regime and to ensure that the agreement will be a great deal for the United States. Remember, President Trump is operating in the best interest of the American people. And so the Iranians oftentimes are going to push back on many of these points within a possible agreement. But the president said something very interesting to Fox News over the weekend, and I'll repeat it here. He said during an interview that initially the Iranians were committing to not having a nuclear weapon or creating a nuclear weapon within their country. And the president raised a very important question. What if the Iranians try to buy a nuclear weapon on the international black market? And ultimately, this language was included in the agreement. And it gives you a sense of just the attention to detail that President Trump has in this possible.
Yeah, because if you say you can't create, this bomb, that doesn't say, hey, you can't buy it. Yeah, so that's interesting. But just like Trey Yingst is saying right here, he's saying that it was a part of the actual proposal on our side.
Agreement with the Iranian regime. And it's the reason that this is taking some time, because the president isn't simply going to sign a bad deal. He wants a deal that has everything on the table, and the concessions that the Iranians are going to make as it relates to their nuclear program and their ongoing efforts to destabilize the region through the Strait of Hormuz are expected to be excessive.
Great job out there, Trey. And I think it just also goes to the point.
Shit. All I know is we're over here smacking on our big ass.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
See, he says snacking, but I like saying smacking. So you guys are just going to have to get with it. All right, let's go ahead and get into this next story this morning. U.S. bombs Iran military sites as Kuwait is hit by drone and missile strikes. This just coming out 3 hours ago. The United States said Monday that it bombed radar and drone sites in Iran after Tehran shot down an American drone over the weekend. Iran then said it launched a strike of its own, and Kuwait reportedly reported incoming fire. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Let's go ahead and quickly discuss this. Here we go.
And welcome back in. And we are keeping up with the latest on the ongoing developments over there in the Middle East. I want to bring in this X post here on your screen as we track new developments here already coming into our newsroom. As the Associated Press says, the U.S. military says it is targeting Iranian radar and drone control sites after Tehran shot down an American MQ-1 Predator drone over the weekend. Meanwhile, Kuwait says its air defenses opened fire to intercept incoming drone and missile fire. Now, just posted this morning here, courtesy of the the Associated Press here. They say that the United States bombed Iranian radar and drone control sites in Tehran after Tehran shot down an American.
Yeah, $4 million fucking drone. It says an MQ-1 Predator drone. Apparently, that MQ-1 Predator drone costs $4 million. I'm going to have to look up what an MQ Predator drone is.
An MQ-1 Predator drone this weekend as we continue to follow the latest here with the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and making sure to break down the latest here. And to do that, we want to bring in our next guest here onto the show, Dr. Asaf Ramarowski.
It's one of these. Hold on. I got it for you guys. Yes, by the way, let's get the likes up, everybody. I very much appreciate you guys. You don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can like it for what we're doing here. All right, so this is what the MQ-1 Predator drone looks like. These big ass, I mean, it's like the size of a fucking plane. It really is. Let me go ahead and pull up the Wikipedia and I'll actually read it for you guys. Just briefly, very, very briefly. We still got a lot to get through this morning. Here is the actual wiki on it. Okay, General Atomics MQ-1 Predator. It says an American remotely piloted aircraft built by General Atomics that was used primarily by the United States Air Force and Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, conceived in early 1990s for aerial reconnaissance and forward observation roles. So interesting. It entered service in 1995 and saw combat and basically everything since then. Interesting. And it says the history of their manufacture date is from 1995 to 2018 is when it ended. So it's interesting. This is not one of those drones that's going to straight up, it's not a one-way drone that's going to fucking bomb a building. That's why I was wondering, like, why are they using a $4 million drone? Like, so that makes way more sense. All right, let's go and bring that back up, the report here.
the executive director for Scholars for Peace in the Middle East, on here with us frequently here. Dr. Asaf,
Hey,
we're starting to see
I like Dr. Asaf.
these strikes, missiles.
We're not going to listen to much of this report. We're just going to get the very first report or monologue from him, and then we'll move on.
Launches start to ramp up again here, which we just saw from the Associated Press there. What does this speak to with the fragility here of the ceasefire, and what can we see from this added pressure?
Well, good morning, and thank you as always. I mean, look, I think the fact of the matter is that this is the game the Iranians have been playing, and we'll see, and we are seeing a ramping up of potential capabilities that the Iranians had. There was also an intelligence report that came out over the weekend that Iran has been able to. There were secret tunnels that they were able to hide potential as far as ICBMs. Potential more drones. And so there is a concern that all this is indeed ramping up. And part of this is part of the theater. They've been trying to showcase that they are indeed this force of strength. And even though they have been significantly degraded, Iran still has capabilities. They still have tunnels of sorts that they've been able to abscond with materials and arms to. And
of course, I mean they're like the kings of the underground world,
going after U.S. targets, as you can see all along. All
What's
this,
up, GEG?
you know, to
Good
your
morning.
point, speaks of the significant fragility of the so-called ceasefire. And while we're still waiting for the Iranians to respond to the MOU that came out of the Trump administration, and the game continues, while at the same time also you also have an ongoing significant battlefront in Lebanon with the
Yes, and that's the part that is demolishing us on the ceasefire right this second. The reason why Iran just claimed this morning that there's going to be no more diplomatic discussions going forward on anything. Basically there's no ceasefire now.
Really, all this continues to ratchet up, and we've not seen really much respite on that front at all. So I see this, you know, again, as another way for them
Dragon
to
Classic,
try
good
to
morning.
avoid commitment for any kind of agreement. To my mind, they're trying to prolong the game itself as far as wanting to see if the United States is going to pay money and how this is going to look like. Remember, their modality for success is the JCPOA, where the United States and others have sat around the table and have basically poured billions of dollars into Iran. Iran is trying to play the victim card, and the fact,
Of course, and we know all of those things. Let's just go ahead and see. We do have a report here actually coming out from Fox. Let's see what they say
Here, do you want to bring
real
this
quick.
in here real quick from Fox News? This is
This is regards to the president of Iran over there is being reportedly asked to resign. So we were just talking about the resignation about this, and I think Trey Yingst was the one that said, and maybe I misunderstood him, but I thought he debunked it and was like, well, that's kind of, fake news. So let's go ahead and see what's happening here. And Dr. Asaf will actually know the answer to this because he's got the inside with the, the big Telegram groups, governmental groups, and all that shit. He's a part of it. So
Iran's president has reportedly asked to resign, citing a loss of authority inside the country's ruling system. According to reports, the Iran's president told the Supreme.
See, and this is where I was talking about that the internal influence right now. There's an issue going on that I didn't even know about, but I'm not surprised, I should say.
Leader's office that he and his government have been excluded from major decision making, leaving him unable to fill his responsibilities. The reported resignation comes amid growing signs of internal power struggles within the regime, and as the U.S. continues to negotiate with Tehran. President Trump has repeatedly pointed to divisions inside Iran's leadership, previously saying the regime is seriously fractured. So we're seeing this. Does this look like a sign that the regime is starting to break, that there's some cracks in there?
Well, the regime is weak. I mean, let's be clear about that. And the president in general has only been a figurehead all along. And the source of power, the gravity of where things come out of it has always been through the supreme leader and the clerics around them and the Ayatollahs. And so the fact of the matter is that any president has always been a kind of a puppet, the forces behind him are the ones pulling the strings. I mean, this is a lot of theatrics as far as, again, showing exactly what he can do and the fact that he's been, so-called part of the conversations. Really, he's never been part of the conversations. He's being told what to do and expected to follow suit based on.
Yes, that is true. Yes, the way these kind of positions work, it's kind of like what a vice president is within a motorcycle club. He deals with the internal politics, not necessarily the external politics of the club. It's the same thing with their ideology and the way that they run their hierarchy. You'll have, the president of Iran, and then you'll have the Ayatollah, which is the religious leader, which is the actual one that deals with the war front. It's kind of like a wartime prime minister like Bibi Netanyahu, for instance.
How this plays out. It does speak, I think, which is, the larger issue here, to the fact that have been rumors, of course, that Mustafa, the son of the of the former supreme leader.
You too, Dragon Classy.
I mean, the fact that he is now in control, trying to exert and show power, even though nobody has seen him, has been sending messages around, and so there's been a lot of that going on, being portrayed on Iranian TV, and anything that kind of strays away from the messaging that has been delivered by these interlocutors, including people like Bashkian, are basically a target for them. And so I'm not surprised by this. I think that the leadership in general is so fractured. It's really been even the negotiations between the U.S. team and the Iranians have commented about the fact that they're not clear who they're talking to and really who's delivering the messages. And
that's true too, because you got to remember there's like 36 different factions, within the IRGC. The way that they set themselves up is like these different states that kind of operate as their own military group within Iran, which is actually very smart. But then you have telecommunication problems of communicating and getting everybody on the same page, which is going to be a hard thing to do. Even if shit gets cleared up at the top, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get cleared up on the bottom. All right, so real quick, Trump does respond after the U.S. As well as Iran trade strikes. So let's go ahead and see what Trump has to say this morning. I don't know if this is a post or if he got on the media. We'll see.
So President Trump says Iran still wants to make a deal, despite the two sides trading strikes over the weekend.
And it comes as the president has reportedly toughened his terms for Tehran.
All right, Alexandra Hoff is live at the White House with the details. Good morning, Alex.
Well, good morning to you. The president issuing a message of reassurance this morning on Truth Social, especially for those who are pushing him to get this deal done faster. He said, quote, sit back and relax. It'll all work out in the end. The president continuing on.
Yeah, I'm not sitting back and relaxing there, cuh.
Truth Social. Iran really wants to make a deal, and it will be a good one for the USA and those that are with us.
Well, that aged really fucking terribly, because Iran just came out this morning right after all this to say we're not doing any diplomatic talks.
Demands from the U.S. side remain to be Iran has to agree to no nuclear weapon, but they also have to agree not to buy one. Any remaining materials have to be destroyed. The Strait of Hormuz has to open with no tolls. Sea mines, they also have to be removed, and the U.S. naval blockade has to be lifted. The president highlighting to Fox that main point has already been agreed to.
The one guarantee that I have to have is that there will be no nuclear weapons. They've agreed to that. And it was very.
Well, that's Saturday. That was back on Saturday, and maybe that was true, but that ain't true no more.
Interesting. They originally said we will not develop a nuclear weapon. I said, well, what happens if you buy a nuclear weapon? So now it says we will not develop or in any way purchase a military weapon. That's a big difference. So we're getting what we want slowly. Very tough negotiators. It takes a long time. I'm in no hurry.
Because when you're in a hurry, according to the president, you make bad.
What's up, Fidel? Good morning to you as well. Quickly, let's go ahead and see Trump's latest demands to Iran. Now, this happened over the weekend, right? So this comes out on Sunday on Truth Social. Iran must agree that they will never have a nuclear weapon or bomb. Nuclear dust will be unearthed by the U.S. and destroyed. Strait of Hormuz to immediately open with no tolls. And that goes for the Oman side as well, obviously. Iran will remove and or detonate all sea mines, and U.S. naval blockade will be lifted. So that was basically over the weekend, right? So let's see here. I do want to hear about this. U.S. hits Iran with fourth round of self-defense strikes, they're calling it. So I do want to see that report.
The gloves are off. Right. I'm telling you, they've already done. The president's already done what no other president was willing to do. First hit them last year in June, and then bury their nuclear.
No, you guys are just talking over it. I thought it was an actual fucking report, but it wasn't. Hold on. There's more propaganda that we skip the propaganda parts. We just give a shit about the actual facts around here, as you guys know. All right. Multiple things are going on now. We do have the update on Iran, but first we need to, and we do everything in a chronological order. Quickly, we need to talk about, there's a protest going on outside of Kenya, Ebola quarantine center for U.S. citizens. We were discussing on Friday, I believe it was, that in the regards of Ebola, what they're going to do for U.S. citizens that are coming back from that region, Kenya would be a area that, with the in cohesion and working with the Kenyan government, they were going to open up this kind of like this quarantine area that people would go through that are going to be trying to come back to the United States because they're U.S. citizens. Now, there's been this talks that this was going to happen. It said that both governments were involved. And now the Kenyan government has come out and said, fuck no, we're not doing this, which I actually don't blame them. You know, it's not really their fault and for them to fix. And I'd be like, I don't want them in our country either. Objectively, I can't even be upset with that. But it does say hundreds protest outside Kenya Ebola quarantine center for U.S. citizens. So that's very interesting. Who's protesting? That's what I want to know. So we're going to find out now.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox.
Wow, it really is Kenyans like this. Wow, what are they protesting for? They want a U.S. facility there or something? What is it?
We are following some more of these live images coming out of Kenya. Hundreds of people here protesting a Ebola quarantine facility that is specifically going to be housing U.S. citizens.
Oh, I see. I see what probably happened here. I misunderstood how it was being presented at first. Now I get it. Okay, so when the announcement of us doing this, Kenyans probably got up and said, fuck no, we don't want them in our fucking country. We don't want them building this shit here. Let's go down there. Let's protest. Let's make the government think twice on this. That makes sense.
That were exposed to the virus. We have been showcasing a lot of these
protests. What's up, Lee Lance? Good morning.
The better part of this morning of our program, but I also want to bring us out to this. A social media post courtesy of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Africa. They say the Uganda Ebola outbreak as of May 30th, the response continues with national teams and partners working to detect cases early, follow contracts, protect health workers, and stop further transmission. But this continues to be a serious issue that a lot of health organizations and really the whole world is watching closely. So joining us next to break down really where we stand on this is
yes, it's true. We are gonna have a little bit of overtime today. So you guys know what the deal is. No tax on overtime, no tax on tips. Let's send in your donuts. Absolutely, you must obey.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking.
Shit.
Denied.
That's what I call proper propaganda. All right, back to this.
She's the editor-at-large for public health at KFF Health News, an infectious disease specialist, and an epidemiologist. Dr. Celine, thanks so much for joining today.
Good to be here.
All right, so you saw some of those images I showcased.
It looks like they're protesting. From as far as I can gather right now, it looks like Kenyans are protesting that they are going to put the U.S. government and the Kenyan government are going to work together to put a facility there to deal and quarantine people with Ebola. Now, I'm sure that those Kenyan residents there were like, fuck no, we don't bring their sick ass motherfuckers here. We don't want their shit here. We don't. So that's what I assume. Now, I haven't heard that specifically, but just looking at the beginning of this report, that's exactly what I picked up.
I want to focus on that for a little bit here, though, because some organizations have already cited the fact that Kenya has a fragile healthcare system. Why would the U.S. opt for Kenya to build a quarantine facility for U.S. citizens? Why is that chosen as a hub?
Well, President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have made it very clear they do not want any Ebola in the United States, even American citizens who may contract Ebola while serving over there. Now,
well, that's the whole thing. It's like these Americans that do go over into these areas, I'm sure that most of them are probably doctors or some sort of aid of some sort. or even maybe teachers or whatever the case is. But the United States is what she is claiming right there, and which is true, is that the U.S. government don't want that shit here. Okay, even with those, even though there are people, you are making the conscious decision to go over there, and you're not going to be bringing it back to U.S. citizens, right?
The government does have leverage over the Kenyan government. Kenya signed
Trigger
a
warning.
$2.5
Good morning.
billion 5-year health funding deal with the U.S. Back in December, and Kenya's entire public health infrastructure, including their treatment for HIV, involving millions of people, that depends on U.S. funding. So it makes it very hard for the Kenyan government to say no to this.
It's so weird how people from around the world, it doesn't matter if you're in the United States, if you're in France, if you're in Rome, if you're, over here in Kenya, it doesn't matter. It's weird how every time that there's like a big protest or whatever, there's always something set on fire. Whether it be a car, a dumpster, a whole bunch of, it looks like they just set logs off over there. It doesn't even look like that they destroyed anything. But usually there is destruction of some sort with fire. It's odd.
And again, just want to remind everyone that these are live images.
I'm angry.
In the aftermath of the protest, and really they are still.
I'm angry and I've got emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
I need everyone to hear me.
Here. Selena, brings me to my next question. Have we seen this before, where a foreign government establishes a quarantine facility in another country for its citizens?
This is really unprecedented that we would do this. And in fact, over the last decade plus, we have spent billions with a B, billions of dollars to establish containment units across the U.S. Over a dozen of these facilities that are state of the art. It took years to build these. These are not things you can erect really quickly in just a matter of days or weeks. And the staff needs to undergo quite a lot of drills to be practiced to do this. So one of the things that physicians do is perform procedures. So they might intubate somebody, put them on a ventilator, they might perform dialysis, somebody might need a heart-lung bypass machine. All of those create a lot of aerosols, the potential for exposure to bodily fluids.
Yeah, and that's the problem. We've discussed it many times before, but if you guys are brand new here, Ebola doesn't spread like how COVID does or any airborne thing. Ebola spreads by bodily fluids, as well as from sex as well. So, if you're in contact or anything around like puke, blood, anything, piss, all that shit. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to be our latest update regarding Iran this morning. This came out 51 minutes ago. Basically right before we started the show, this came out. So it says, on the brink is the name of the actual report. Iranian hardliners clash, as well as key Gulf allies are under attack. Let's go ahead and bring that up, and we will discuss it here momentarily.
Right to Alex Hogan, who is live in D.C. with the latest on Iran. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. So U.S. Central Command made this announcement just hours ago, saying American forces carried out strikes this weekend, bombing Iranian radar and drone control sites in Gorak, Iran, and Qasem Island. And according to...
We already know this report. We saw this report. Right? Yeah, we saw this report. But there's more to it. Oh, there's an extension to this. I understand what's happening here. Give me a second. Good thing I'm not a complete and utter idiot and didn't recognize that. All right, here we go. We already know the demands. We read the demands, so there's no point for you guys hearing those again. Let's see what this is saying.
We'll have to see. Now, what is...
I do want to hear Iran's primary demands in peace negotiations.
What are the Iranians demanding for us? Okay,
I do want to know
blockade of their blockade. We're not going to do that until we see some movement.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So first of all, he has to get the nuclear dust. Like in 2004, the United States went into Libya, got all of its centrifuges, all of its nuclear dust, took it to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. We need something similar to be able to show that this program is finished.
Do you think that we would ever agree to let a...
Yeah, Frank, that's over there where you saw it's in regards to France. That was France that was doing that where I happened to see it last night on social media. That's where I saw
nation take the uranium.
There's lots of ways to skin the cat. It's just not got to be. It's got to be not in Iran, and it has to be in friendly hands. And one of the things that's interesting, people are saying, "Oh, well, we didn't accomplish anything with the military strikes," but the Iranians are telling us that stuff is so deeply buried they can't get to it. We would actually have to come in and get it.
And we know that's not true. We did a lot of damage with military strikes.
Yeah.
We just don't have a vision in there. Very interesting that the internet's back up and what we're going to begin to say. So safeguarding domestic nuclear rights, that's a little problem. We don't want them to have nuclear rights.
This motherfucker, that's a little problem. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
That they're not dependable or reliable, and they have a terrorist.
What's up, Brian?
Tendency.
Good morning.
Maintaining sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, we would never allow that to happen.
Yeah, that's the big problem right now. Is that they have shown that they can use the weapon of control of the Strait of Hormuz.
And we know that that's never going to happen either. You know, no one has sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, not even the United States. We don't have sovereignty either. Nobody owns that shit. It's an international waterway, and all straits are treated the exact same way. It's nothing unique. All right, let's get into this next report here. Rubio seeks to steady U.S.-India ties during overseas trip. Now, this is just coming out about an hour ago, right before we started the show this morning.
Now that Secretary Rubio has wrapped up that trip, I want to talk about really what came from it. Joining us next to do so is going to be Smita Prakash. She is the editor-in-chief at the Asian News International. It's a network there, ANI. Smita, good morning, and thanks for being with us today.
Good morning to you too.
All right, so let's just start with this. Some of the shared objectives here with the U.S. and India, because we know...
What's up, Two-Wheel Jesus? Good morning.
There's been a rift at times, specifically when it comes to trade and some of the tariffs that were imposed by the U.S. a bit earlier on.
You're absolutely right. There was a rift, and I think this visit of Marco Rubio, it's being viewed as some kind of a damage control exercise. So the visit wasn't really about new deals or about the...
That's kind of interesting. I really didn't see the involvement with us in India over there. I mean, I did see maybe in the aspect of Marco Rubio trying to basically kind of explain ourselves regarding the war a little bit. Sure, there is that, you know, but I didn't, aside from that aspect, I actually seemed to, the way that I gathered it was a fairly good trip for Marco Rubio.
Tariff, it was more a kind of a strategic reassurance that Washington is trying to prevent distrust from creeping into Indo-US partnership. Now, this is something that has happened in the past. It's not new with this administration, with the current administration in the US or in India. There have been occasions in the past. So this was probably a visit to reassure India that, you know, in this...
Fuck no, Trigger. You can send me money for that, though. You know, listen, $20.
Time of trade friction, Iran tensions, uncertainty about the China policy that's being pursued in the US. In spite of that, India matters to the US. And that's how India is also looking, because after the Trump era tariff shocks on Indian exports and the US pressure over Russian oil imports, Washington warming towards Pakistan, India's traditional rival, there is anxiety in New Delhi about which way this relationship is going forward. And I think this visit by Mr. Rubio will allay those fears to some extent.
There's a lot to unpack there, even with that first answer, and we're going to dive into all of that. But before we move on, I also want to talk about some of the biggest obstacles that both of these nations face when trying to achieve some of their shared goals.
Well, India, basically, what they care about is, you know, their own oil supply and their own dealings with that. So India is just frustrated because of BRICS nation and us right now. And now that everything is shut down, we are the only ones that are really selling, right? And we're not really selling like a crazy amount to the rest of the world, but they, you know, we should at this point. And hopefully we are taking all offers.
If we could just break down some of those obstacles, because I know that a common goal that they have here is the issue with China and some of the strategy happening there in the Indo-Pacific, but also how you detailed the situation with Iran, the disruptions at the Strait of Hormuz. What is
I agree with you, Tree, by the way.
Making it a little bit difficult, more challenging to get both sides to agree and really strengthen that partnership?
So besides the points that I mentioned and what you also mentioned, there's also the tensions with regard to energy crisis. India imports almost all its energy requirements. So, you know,
that's exactly what I was just talking about, how in the regards to BRICS and their need for imported oil, that's where they're most upset over this war, essentially. But they do support the effort in what we're doing, though. So it's also interesting how there's this dynamic. Even though we're oppositions theoretically on an economic front, we're like special allies in situations like this, which is odd.
That cheap Russian crude is something that India has benefited from for a long period of time. It's enormous. But now the pressure to buy US oil, it's strategically useful for the US, but it's costly for India. So New Delhi will have to hedge its bet.
She's 100,000% accurate. And it's pretty rare to get these analysts that come in and start explaining situations and them being very accurate. She's very accurate.
It can't pivot completely from Russia for various reasons, for military reasons, for strategic reasons, for energy requirements. But while India can't abandon Russian oil, and it because of its its policy of strategic autonomy, it cannot even break ties with Russia, nor can it form any formal alliance with.
Yeah, I'm sure Daddy Putin over there actually runs the puppet strings, so it's going to be hard. And that's basically the way that I interpreted what she just said right there.
With Washington. There is the whole dragon in the room, which is China. It cannot see itself as subordinating India's Chinese policy to Washington. So that is a major Modi Jaishankar doctrine, Jaishankar being the external affairs minister of India. So,
Damn, I didn't know what
we are seeing right now
what the hell that was.
This India first policy of Prime Minister Modi clashing somewhat with America first policy of President Trump.
I want to take us out to a social media post here, courtesy of Secretary Rubio, who did document a lot of his trip there in India. He said this: huge thanks to the U.S. Ambassador to India, Sergio Gore, and our American diplomats for their efforts. Because of their great work, India has committed to purchasing $500 billion in U.S. goods over the next 5 years, focusing on energy.
Wow. Damn.
Technology, and agriculture. They're doing terrific work on behalf of President Trump and the American.
India committing to purchasing $500 billion in U.S. goods over the next 5 years, focusing on energy, technology, and agriculture. Wow, that's a big deal.
American people. Going back to the last points that you were making, Smita, a couple of things. Of course, when it comes to the purchase of Russian crude oil from India, you mentioned there and explained to us why it is that it's a bit more difficult for India to completely become independent from that Russian crude oil, even though, as you also mentioned, there's also a push for India to buy more oil from the U.S. Let's focus a little bit more specifically on China, because that is one of the main points that they were focused on during a lot of these meetings. President Trump most recently went to China to visit with Chinese President Xi. How was that perceived in India?
With anxiety, because
with anxiety,
India is really not sure which way America is going to engage with Beijing. Is it tactical? Is America going to abandon?
Well, it's just going to be interesting how really, and we've talked about it obviously multiple times on here as well, but the way that Beijing reacts and the way that China reacts to Taiwan, and the way that the United States is going to move around that as well. Because like I said, Xi Jinping, he came, basically from everything from our diplomatic talks that we're doing normal, engagements, talks and stuff like that. And they do support, yes, the strait should be open and it should be open for everybody. And yes, they're going to agree on all these. But the one thing I'm willing to fuck you up over, this is China's perspective, the one thing I'm willing to do World War III over basically is Taiwan. So think twice about fucking with us with Taiwan. And so now this is where the tune has changed a little bit, I noticed, from Trump, not necessarily from the rest of the cabinet and Congress, but from Trump. I saw that his way regarding Taiwan has kind of lightened up a little bit. So it's going to be interesting watching what's going to be going forward regarding Taiwan.
It's anti-China strategic architecture. If that happens,
holy shit, we got trigger warning actually sending in $20 to see the leg. W. There you go. Look at that shit. You'd better take a screenshot. We got our Only Legs page, that it's supposed to stay on Only Legs, but today we'll make a little sacrifice because I did say $20, so hey, I very much appreciate that. That's fucking awesome. There you go.
does it see India in the Indo-Pacific
Thank you very much,
region? The Quad meeting that Marco Rubio attended, there also the Quad participants were wondering which way the signals that is emanating from Washington, D.C. is a little bit confusing for the Quad partners as well as for India. So a section of the U.S. State Department still sees India as critical to balancing China in the Indo-Pacific region. But India is still watching and is kind of being, I think, fearful to some extent also, if I was to see it in its, in its extreme form, whether it is being sidelined with this U.S.-China relationship warming up. So I think Mr. Rubio chose his words very carefully. There was no rhetoric, and he did try to calm that fear in India. I don't know whether fear is the right word, anxiety maybe on that. So when he was speaking, when all his engagements, he was making it pretty clear that energy exports to India is crucial. Diversification from Russian oil is important. He did try and say that.
Which is interesting that he's kind of playing into that card like, yeah, you need to be getting your Russian oil. You need to be getting your BRICS nation shit, blah, blah, blah. That's interesting. He's kind of playing that card because they could be buying from us. But again, they're not going to get the deal that they've got with, like, for instance, with Daddy Putin up there, Papa Putin. They're not going to have that same deal, So they're going to have to buy it at what we sell it at. And that's way more expensive than what they pay, probably by double.
He said assurances to keep Hormuz open is
something
that he is working on, or rather America is working on. So Delhi will hedge its bet. It will not pivot in any which way. And I think the warmth with which Mr. Rubio was received in India, and there was hesitation initially, but Mr. Rubio, there was a cultural outreach that he did, the sightseeing, the pictures that he has uploaded, a couple of hours ago of the Kolkata stop, the Taj Mahal visit, the public warmth. It's quite clear that both sides want atmospheric to improve. Beijing is watching carefully too. So hard negotiations will happen in the back room, but the visit was, I would say, successful. Maybe no trade deal.
The only hard thing that we're going to be dealing with is Taiwan in the regards of China, to be honest. It just is what it is on that aspect. All right, so that looks like it is. We got the end of that. Let's go ahead and see if there's any other major updates here. No, we're completely caught up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you, each and every single one of you guys, enough for allowing me to do this Monday through Friday. And then, of course, Saturday morning for members only. I'm very honored to be able to do this. And thank you guys for your engagement. Also, make sure you guys stick around. We're going to be rating our buddy Scott Free. He's live right now. So make sure you guys let him know that we're coming through with the Mike Ball raid, All right. Much love, honor, respect to everybody. We'll see you guys here tomorrow morning for more of the world's madness and truth-seeking adventure as we always continue down this road. All right. Much love to everybody. We'll see you guys very soon. Stay safe and much love. God bless.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul, with a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels, ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry.